Hi everyone, welcome to another live ukulele jam with me, Matt Stead. And tonight is a very special Beach Boys special. Where is it? There it is. This is my tribute to my musical hero, Brian Wilson. You guys know that I've been obsessed with music for years and years and years. And it all started really way back when I was in my first band at university. So I was like 19, I think, might have even been 18, and met this guy called Rob who was into all the same music as me, and we decided to start a band. And I remember sitting, he ironically, he lived in the Forest of Dean, which is where I live now, not where I grew up. And he was a massive, massive fan of the Beach Boys. And he put on a record. It was the Pet Sounds box set. And he put on a version of Wendy by the Beach Boys. And it just blew me away. And because it was the Pet Sounds box set, he had a special version with the all of the vocals in one speaker and the rest of the instrumental in the other. And he would pan it hard so I could hear all those beautiful Wilson Brothers harmonies, and then he'd pan it the other way and I could hear the most brilliant keyboard solo and so much stuff going on, and I just fell in love with them. And they've been literally the biggest influence, particularly Brian's music, of any other band. And I listen to the Beach Boys almost every day and it never fails to make me happy. So it was obviously really hi guys, by the way, it was obviously a really sad moment when I heard that Brian had passed away. Many of the fans kind of suspected that it was coming because his wife Melinda passed away just a couple of years ago, and Brian sadly was suffering from dementia. But still, it's a sad loss, musical hero. But thankfully, his music lives on, which is amazing. So we're going to celebrate it tonight. Some beautiful, beautiful tunes coming up. Mr. Fortin's asking if I can teach him to play September by Earth, Wind and Fire. Yeah, I'm sure we can look at that sometime. I love that song. That's a cracker, isn't it? Yeah, what a groove. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Well, I hope you're all doing well, guys. Thanks for all the messages. I'm absolutely melting here. I hope we're going to make it through the lesson. I think I'll be fine. I wasn't able to find a working fan in the house, and there's no kind of aircon in our house. So we're at, I think, 33 degrees. It's reading outside at the moment, so it's super hot. And my webcam, I was just moving it. This the one that I use for close cam, this jobby, and I was just moving it just now a little bit to get it into position, and it was so hot that my sweaty fingers actually sizzled when I touched it. So hopefully it's going to keep going and it won't melt. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. Just a couple of admin things to let you know what's happening. Thank you, Harry, for the lovely countdowns. Thanks, mate. So we've got 32 days until my appearance at Shriekfest up in Shrewsbury, which I'm super excited about. And then 228 days until the next cruise, which is going to be absolutely fandabidozy. Talk about the warmth of the sun. You'll definitely get it on this cruise. We're going to go to the Caribbean to escape the winter darkness and go and have lots of fun in February. Get in touch if you'd like to come along. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. To let you know, we've got another live lesson, not this week, but a week after. We're going to look at jazzing up the blues. So we're going to take that bog standard blues in the key of C, and we're going to start jazzing it up with some beautiful chords, jazz chords. And I'll show you how you can turn the blues into a beautiful piece of jazz music. And we'll also talk a little bit about the history of how the blues and jazz were interwoven and how they developed over time. So really looking forward to that. That's going to be not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday coming. You might have noticed, guys, that I've made quite a lot of updates to the website. So check it out if you can, mattsteadukulele.com. There's all sorts on there. And one of the things that I've put on the homepage now to help everyone is a calendar. And the calendar has all my upcoming live lessons. So when the next Canna is, when the next Melodic Mondays is. And it's taken from Karen's brilliant Facebook calendar that she does, but I've put it on the homepage so you can see it straight away. And basically you can check when Canna are and aren't happening. So if there's ever a cancellation or anything, I'll put that up there as well. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, guys. So check that out, and you can see when all the next events are that are going on. I've even put the live events like Shriek Fest and the cruise and things like that on as well, which is really great. Indrani was just saying the French-German TV channel Arte had several good documentaries on the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson. Oh, I'll look that up. Thanks, Indrani. There's a brilliant one that Disney released recently, wasn't there? I forget what it's called now. Is it Long Promise Road? Which is all about the music of Brian Wilson. So that's worth checking out. My favourite one is there's a documentary called Endless Harmony, and it's just got so many brilliant performances on it, which is quite amazing. When Leslie, who sometimes does our Canna and live lessons, when she came to visit me recently from the States, she was telling me that once she was one of the dancers on a Beach Boys TV appearance. How cool is that? I love it. Absolutely brilliant. So you'll notice Brian has been, thanks Tim, yeah, Brian has been, I've been replaced by Brian today. And I kind of love Brian of all periods, but this is when he came back and in the 90s, and then in the noughties when I got to see him on the Pet Sounds tour, which was fantastic. Oh my gosh, I'm so hot. This is going to be soaked through by the end of the night. It doesn't even really fit anymore, but ho-hum, we'll have fun. Now, don't worry about the chords on this first one. When you see it, you'll think, oh my goodness. But as with all things, there's an explanation for it, and there's ways and means that we can make this a lot more approachable. But let's have a look at this beautiful song called Love and Mercy. The reason I wanted to start with this one is because this is specifically a Brian Wilson solo song rather than a Beach Boys song. It's from his 1990 album, self-titled Brian Wilson, and it's the opening track. It was written, the co-credit goes to a guy called Dr. Eugene Landy. He's the guy that kind of saved Brian Wilson from his depression, and he spent like years and years in bed, depressed, literally not getting out of bed, and Dr. Landy started to help him to kind of full health again. But as with a lot of things, Dr. Landy overstepped the mark and became really controlling and manipulative. And this was at that time when he was getting Brian to write these songs. So even though it says Eugene Landy on the songwriting credits, I've put it just to Brian, 1988, because that was really who wrote it. And it's a beautiful tune. It talks about Brian's kind of melancholy and his view of the world. And I think it's a lovely phrase, love and mercy for you and your friends. And I think we could all do with a bit of that. Hi, Robin. Don't worry, you've not missed the first one yet, so you're absolutely fine. So remember at Canna we number our chords through 1 through to 7, and this song's in the key of G. G has 1 sharp in it, so the F chord would be an F sharp chord, but that one's not coming up, so we don't need to worry about it anyway. So G is our 1 chord, and then we have A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp, and then we're back to G again. All right, so notice that some of those are major chords. The 1, 4 and 5 are major chords, and the 2, 3 and 6 are minor chords. Now this one uses some fairly bog standard chords in terms of the basic structure, and then it gets more and more sophisticated as it goes on. It's really, really beautiful. So we start with the 1 chord, our G chord. Remember, that just kind of sets us off on a journey and provides resolution. Then we go to the 5 chord, a really common thing to do. G, A, B, C, D. You can count on your hand. Just a bog standard D chord. Then an E minor for a touch of melancholy. That's the 6th chord. And then back to 5 again. Okay. So it opens with 1, 5, 6, 5. Then we have the 4 chord coming in, which is C, and that just creates a little bit of sense of movement and change. Back to G. Now, anyone else there at any point would probably just do another C to G. Or do a C to D. But Brian, being Brian, uses a really gorgeous chord, an A minor 7. That creates what we call in jazz music a 2-5-1 progression. Don't sweat it too much, but it's way more simple than it looks. Hi Liam, hope you're doing well, mate. So 2-5-1 just means the 2 chord, G, A, and in this case we're playing an A minor 7, followed by the 5 chord, we're playing a D7, followed by the 1 chord G. So we get 2-5 at the end, which takes us back to G. I realise there's a mistake. Where it says A minor 7, I'll get that changed, folks. Where it says A minor 7, that should be the 2 chord, not the 6 chord. I obviously went to the key of C briefly for a minute, like a Wally. All right, so the chord's right. It's just the Nashville number's wrong. I'll update that later, guys. Okay, so we repeat that twice. Now we're just going to do this one as straight 8s. Really, really simple. Oh yeah, I didn't show you how to play it. Indrani's right. Everyone's favourite chord, A minor 7, because you don't need any fingers at all. Just your open strings. Beautiful A minor 7. Really beautiful. Okay, and you could do the D7 with just a simple Hawaiian one, or you could do the barred one. Whichever you prefer will be absolutely fine. So let's just strum through. I'm just going to do a straight 8 strums. That just means all down strums, very lightly of the nails of my right hand, like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, 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 down. Occasionally I'll put an up in just to thicken it up, but you can just do downs, will be absolutely fine, okay? So the verses will look and sound something like this. Let me just get my lyrics ready. Oh my gosh, I literally just put my hand above that webcam that I was telling you about, and I can feel the heat from there. Right, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So G, D, E minor, D, and C, and G. Fingers off for A minor 7 and D7. I was sitting Now the best thing is, the chorus is the same chords, so just keep strumming. Love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. Okay, so exactly the same as the verse. Some love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. Isn't that lovely? So really beautiful yet simple chord progression to get us started. Now, Brian Wilson, being Brian Wilson, he was a bit of a musical genius, as we all know. He had to introduce some more sophisticated chords. And in this song, it's when it goes to what people would often call the instrumental or the bridge, we end up with some, again, relatively simple chords, but really lush chord choices. They're actually really easy to play on ukulele, which is fantastic, right? But they sound utterly, utterly beautiful, okay? So when we go to the instrumental, we start with a D7, the 5 chord, just building up the tension. And we just got 2 measures of that. Then the next bit is based around going from G to C, that's the 1 to the 4 chord, but he does it in a fancy way because we have the G major to a G7 flip around. The reason that's lovely is a G7 is 5 above C, so it leads beautifully into this C chord, which he turns into a minor. You get like in a lot of Christmas songs. Back to G. Then we've got a really unusual chord. It's often called the 4 of the 7. This one here, or the 4 of the 6, sorry. It just means it's 4 above the 6 chord. Don't sweat the theory too much on this one because it's a bit complex. But there's hardly anyone in pop music would think of using that chord. It's just utterly beautiful. It can also be called a C sharp half diminished, so a really beautiful half diminished substitution. It can also be called a tritone sub, but that's, again, too much theory for now, right? Now, let's have a look. Oh, Barbara's crying already. I know, right? It's just beautiful, isn't it? Okay, so the reason that one works is it's only one note away from a C major. A C major 7, sorry, would look like this. And this is only one note different, which is really beautiful. And this note in the G chord, D, leads beautifully into that C sharp, which leads to the C in the next chord. So you get this lovely... And then an add 9, just put that one finger down there really nice and easy. And then we've basically got G to C again, just really drawn out. We've got G, this is the instrumental part 2. Flatten for G major 7. We do that twice. Then we've got a C chord, C major 7, and again. Do G to G major 7 again, and then we finish on this G6. Again, a really sophisticated, beautiful chord, but really easy to do. Just a G chord without this one. All right. Robin's just asking why she can't find the chord sheets. I wonder if I can put the link in the comments for you, Robin, to save you looking all over the place for them. So it's a couple of ways you can find the chord sheets, just in case anyone else is having this problem. You can go here, which is, I'll bring it on screen as well. This link takes you to my link in bio where you can get all the chord sheets and everything. But if you want a really quick way of getting there, that'll be in the comments as well, Robin, so you can find it. But if anyone else wants to get there quickly, just copy this link into another tab on your browser. I'll just put it up now. And this is the quick link. That'll take you exactly to these sheets. All right. There we go. Fab. I made a bit of a change. So nowadays, if you on Facebook, the links in the comments, the only reason is it's the algorithm. Facebook changed the algorithm, and if you have lots of links in the actual description, it basically won't share your post with anyone. Silly, right? It's just because Facebook like to keep you on their site, basically. So yeah. Oh, nice. Leslie's at Ukulele Retreat with Stu Fuchs. He's a cool teacher. Love it. Oh, that's great. Say hi to Stu from me, Leslie. That's absolutely brilliant. Leslie was one I was telling you about that danced in the background on one of the Beach Boys TV shows. So super, super cool. Right, now if we put that lovely instrumental part together with the vocals, I can't sing like a Beach Boy, but just to give you an idea how it will sound, it's really lovely. So come in on this D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go to the G. Then instrumental part 2. And then basically that takes us back into another verse. Now, if you struggle with any of that, don't sweat, because you can just play these chords over and over, and then you can do a little bit of noodling to a solo on this one. If anyone wants to try a solo when we get to the instrumental, it's quite tricky to do on this one because some of the chords are quite sophisticated sounding. But what I would do is keep it really simple. And if you've got your scale reference sheets handy, you can download these on the same place as the chord sheets. If you look at your C major pentatonic and A minor pentatonic, which is on page 15, looks like this. Notice that we can play these notes really easily on the A string because it's your open A, C at the first dot. Some people have a dot there, others don't. D on the next dot, E on the next dot, and then up to G and A. Okay. And you can also play the open E string and any of the dots. Just make sure that when we get to this one, we go one higher, like so. All right. Other than that, you can play all the dots as well, so fantastic. No worries, Robin, I'm glad you found it. The important thing is you've got it, so absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, and if you want to, you can use those to... oh, hang on. Indrani said, but aren't we in the key of G? Let me just check. Hang on a second. I think we are, aren't we? Love. Yeah, of course we are. I showed you the wrong one. Sorry. Thanks, Indrani. I'm glad you're on the ball. I think the heat has gone to my brain. Yeah, sorry guys. Ignore everything I just said. So sorry guys. We want the G major and E minor pentatonic. It will look like this when we get there. This is on page, there it is, on page 20 in your sheets if you've got them. I'll keep it on the screen here. All right, so it's only because Indrani wanted to do the My Girl thing, right, Indrani? Just teasing. So the G major pentatonic, you can start right up at the 7th fret of the C string, go up to 9, 7, 10 on the next one, 7, 10 on the next one. So we get that lovely My Girl riff when you play it one note at a time. And we can also do an E minor pentatonic, which would be 4 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 7. Now the nice thing about this one is that because the chords change so beautifully, you can do something really simple underneath and it will sound really, really gorgeous. Have a listen. I'll just put my speaker on. Hopefully this will work. And I'll play a little bit of a backing track so you can see. And I'll just keep it really simple. I'll come in a close cam so you can see what I'm doing. Anyway, I could noodle on forever, but I do it because I love the chords to this one. But keep it simple. You don't have to do loads and loads of notes. Really get into the lovely, beautiful melancholy of this song and enjoy the lovely message as well. So I'll pop the chords up here in case anyone's not got the sheets and you can follow them on screen. And in terms of the structure on this one, remember it's only that instrumental here that changes. Literally everything else that you play in this song is that top line, which again is repeated anyway, isn't it? Because that's the same thing twice. So same few chords over and over until we get to that beautiful instrumental when we'll have a go at these. All right, and it just goes verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, and then we get that instrumental and a final chorus. So all good, fantastic. There we go. No worries, Karen. Good to see you. Good to see you. Ah, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Fantastic. Okay. Ah, thanks, Tim. Thank you very much. I was harnessing my inner Carl or Alan Jardine there for you. Okay, here we go. Let's give it a try. And I'll let me just tip that down a little bit. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do that really annoying thing and just tune up quickly. Just because if you're playing... Oh, it's all right, actually. Just because if you're playing at home, you want to make sure we're in tune. My uke is so hot. The tuning keeps going out. Okay, here we go. Let me just bring up my chords and we shall get started with our first song. The next one won't take us so long to work out because it's really, really easy peasy lemon squeezy. Here we go. Let's do a verse as an introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was sitting in a crummy movie with my hands on my chin. All the violence that occurred seems that we'll never win. Love and mercy, that's what you need tonight. So love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. Keep that going. I was lying in my room and the news came on TV. All the violence that occurs seems like we'll never win. Love and mercy, that's what you need Isn't that a pretty song? Really, really beautiful, I think, especially that instrumental part. And it's just typical Brian. You think it's a kind of fairly standard song, really simple, and then suddenly, like, bam, you're hit with that instrumental and all those. If you listen to the original, some beautiful backing vocals that come over, which is really, really lovely. So check it out, and if you haven't already listened to that, that's on his I think it's 1988 album, his first solo album after the Beach Boys, that one. So it's an absolute cracker. The production on it is absolutely terrible because it's the back end of the 80s, start of the 90s, and studios weren't that brilliant, I don't think, at that particular time. You had all that lovely kind of organic 60s and then 70s sounding stuff. And then in the 80s, if you weren't playing electronic music, a lot of studios just added like a ton of reverb over everything, and it just kind of sounds a bit thin. So I always think that album, I kind of wish Brian had reproduced it, because it's got some great songs on it, and that one's beautiful. But yeah, same as a lot of 80s Beach Boys. I actually like some of the 80s stuff from the Beach Boys, but the production on it is just absolutely terrible, and it kind of ruins it a little bit. But ho-hum. Well, who am I to say? But an absolutely beautiful song, and I think it just really highlights Brian's beautiful kind of emotional side, doesn't it? That even when he was at his kind of lowest ebb, that he could come up with these beautiful, beautiful melodies and harmonies, which is lovely. Okay, so let's go for something completely different now. So this is like almost like polar opposite. So this song is off their early album, Surfing USA. I don't know why I've suddenly made that massive. I realised that it was missing a chord. Again, I'll put a revised sticker on this, Karen, and for you guys on Facebook, and I'll post the link to the corrected chord sheet. So it should just have one extra chord here, this F. So this was one of their early LPs, Surfing USA. So it's got Surfing USA, Farmer's Daughter, Missy Lou, Stoked, Lonely Sea, Shut Down, Noble Surfer, Honky Tonk, Lana, Surf Jam, Let's Go Tripping, and Finders Keepers. I love Finders Keepers. That's a really fun pop song. It's a really kind of interesting record, this, because it does have that kind of Surfing USA thing and that surfing vibe. But even though this is a really early EP, if you listen to Farmer's Daughter, it's got some really beautiful melodies on it. And same with Finders Keepers. So really beautiful. Even those early records, Brian showed a lot of promise. He was massively influenced by barbershop quartets like the Four Freshmen. And Carl, his brother, his younger brother, who played guitar in the Beach Boys, he was really big into Chuck Berry. So what Brian Wilson did is he basically took the chords from Chuck Berry's Sweet Little 16 and he put new words over the top all about surfing. And because the Beach Boys wanted to kind of branch out, because obviously the surfing craze was massive in California, but they wanted to include everyone. So that's why you end up with kind of things like, where is it? There's an interesting one, isn't there? All Over Manhattan, you know, and down to Heaney Way. It was basically just trying to let everyone kind of feel that they could be part of the surfing vibe, which I think is quite sweet. Ironically, you may or may not know that Brian Wilson never surfed. The only one out of all of the Beach Boys that surfed was Dennis Wilson, the younger brother. No one else did. And in fact, Brian Wilson was actually quite afraid of the ocean. So yeah, it's kind of ironic really when they ended up with their name. But it worked, didn't it? It worked for them, and they started off with all these surf songs. So this one's loads and loads of fun, and this one's really great because it really shows some simple chord progressions. So remember, we're in a different key now. We are in C major now. I got it wrong for the first one. I said we're in C when we're in G. We are in C major now, even though the first chord is a type of G chord. Now in C major, we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. So it's just like the alphabet through from C. There's no sharps or flats that we have to worry about. And most of this song is the playoff between the 5 chord G, G and the 1 chord C. And when you turn a normal G major chord like this into a G7, it really wants to resolve to a C even more than a G does. If you kind of play G, it kind of just sits there, right? But if you play G7, it feels like it's asking a question that wants to be answered by going back to the 1 chord. And if you're nerdy like me and you enjoy all the theory, that's because it has 2 notes that lead into a C chord. This B note leads into the C of the C note. But what makes it really cool is that the 7th note, this one here, this F, that leads to the E. So that's why G7 leads beautifully to a C. And even if you don't want to know all the theory and you're not interested whatsoever, just think about the fact that the 5 chord always wants to go back to the 1 chord, and that's what we've got here. We've got the 5 chord, G7, asking a question and answering it with the 1 chord. We do it again. A bit of a change. What do I call the change chord? It's the 4 chord in any key, C, D, E, F. That's what we've got here. We've got the F chord for a bit of a change. Resolution to 1. Then we have the delayed gratification of going back to 1 via the 4 chord. Okay, so G7, isn't it? Now remember, on your sheets you won't have that F written in. That was a bit of an error on my part. I was having a funny 5 minutes when I did this. All right, so let's just play that and then I'll show you some cool things you can do to really make it sound excellent. So we're going to do G7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, G7. Fantastic. Now, of course, the Beatles, to give it that kind of Chuck Berry flavour, they put in lots of musical stops where we have a kind of a strum pattern, if you like, or 5 beats, and then it stops. I'll show you what I mean. It will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now counting to 5 is really awkward. Louis Armstrong, the famous jazz musician, once said that playing to music is counting to 4 over and over. If you count to 5, it really confuses us. So yeah, there we go. Love it. Rebecca's just said no ocean in Colorado, but we sure love those surfing songs and cute surfer boys. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. And of course then, after they kind of they ran out of surf songs, they introduced the car songs, didn't they? So you had all those car songs, Little Juice Coupe and Fun 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 and all that. It's great. Okay, so 5's awkward to count to, so it's better to count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're basically muting the strings on the first beat of the second measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. 2, 3, 4. Bit quicker. See? 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. Now, there's 2 ways you could do these stops. You can either use your right hand, like so, this one here, to just literally slap down on the strings. Just like that. Or if you prefer, you can use this hand to stop the chords, which I often do, where I would just introduce any finger just to mute the strings. If you do that, you've got to make sure you don't press down when you do it. But whichever you find easier is absolutely fine. And that gives us those really cool verses. Let me just bring it back on again, which will look and sound something like this. Now we come in on the O of ocean. I'll talk you through that in a second. But if everybody had an ocean across the USA. Everybody be surfing like California. See them wearing their baggies, Huarache sandals too, bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. And then you can just start strumming the whole of that last line because it takes you into the chorus. Isn't that cool? Really neat kind of way of getting some punctuation into it. Now, when it goes to the chorus, you can sing the inside outside if you want. That was the backing vocals. Inside outside USA, inside outside USA. That works really nicely. And we're going to strum this. We're not going to do the stops on this bit. So we get this. Catch 'em surfing at Delmar, Ventura County line. Same chords, but we strum. Santa Cruz and Trestles, Australia's Narrabeen, all over Manhattan, down to Heaney Way. Then I pay off. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Then we go to another verse. We'll all be planning a ruse. We're gonna take real soon. Make sense, guys? Now, if you want, you can really harness your inner Alan Jardine, the rhythm guitar, and you can start adding some really cool little extras. So on the G7, I like to use this finger to turn it into a G7 sus4. It's a real bluesy thing to do. And you basically just put your finger on and off the 3rd fret of the A string like this. Isn't that cool? And then I use my little finger to play the C that follows, and I put this finger down here to turn C into a C sus4. Isn't that cool? You could just use the leave the F normal, or if you want, you can add a D note in here on the 2nd fret of the C string, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that gives you catch 'em surfing at catch 'em surfing at Delmar, Ventura County line, Santa Cruz and Trestles, Australia's Narrabeen, all over Manhattan, down to Heaney Way. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Cool, huh? So it really kind of gives you a blues thing. You can use that for 12-bar blues as well. It sounds really nice. In fact, this is almost basically, it's like a 12-bar blues. It's interesting. Only maybe a 16-bar blues because we got 16 measures. Now, if you want to, talking about the blues, you can solo to this one using a blues scale because it's got that bluesy essence. It kind of needs it, that Chuck Berry kind of essence. There we go. Thanks, Tim. Tim said Manhattan refers to Manhattan Beach, California, which is the closest beach to Hawthorne. Yeah, the Beach Boys grew up in a suburb of LA called Hawthorne. I hadn't realised that, Tim, about Manhattan being Manhattan Beach. There we go. You learn something new every day. That makes sense. I always wondered about people surfing in Manhattan, you know, like down Wall Street or something. I don't know. That makes complete sense now. Thanks, Tim. That's great. I've been to one of these because Waimea Bay, I've been to that one in Hawaii. That's near you, isn't it? It's not far from you, is it, Tim? So, yeah, cool. Very, very cool. So let's just take a quick look. If you want to do a wee solo on this one, you can do. Let me just make this a bit bigger. We've got the blues scale at the bottom to show you. Now, you can hit any of those notes, but it looks quite overwhelming, doesn't it? They're all over the fretboard. So let's just kind of do a simplified blues scale so you can see it. So we've got open C, just no fingers at all on that C string. Then we jump up to E flat at the 3rd fret of the C string. That's one of the blues notes. It's the third note in the key of C flatted. Then we go 1, 2, 3 on the E string for F, G flat, G. This is another blues note. And then B flat, yet another one. And then here. Classic blue 12 bar. What am I talking about? Classic C blues scale. Feel free to give it a bit of that bow diddly bend. All right, which is nice. That's kind of like the basic way of doing the blues scale. And then I like to remember this. If you go from the 3rd fret up to the 6th on the E and the A string, B.B. King calls this the blues rectangle. So you can have a little bit of experiment soloing on this one if you want. I don't know if I did a backing track for this. Let me have a look. Might have done, yeah, actually. So. See, it's got that real dirty blues sound. So on and so forth. You get the idea. I won't bore you just noodling away, but you can have a go at that if you'd like to in the instrumental. And let's just check where the instrumental comes in, and then we'll have a crack at playing this one. So instrumental comes in after the 2nd chorus. So we're going to go verse, chorus, instrumental, and then the outro is just the last line repeated again and again. So you know this, everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. We just do that again. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. That's the outro. We just repeat that final line over and over. Otherwise, just keep doing this again and again and again. You can't go wrong. Let's give it a try then, guys. Okay, I'll bring the lyrics up on my iPad so I can sing with you guys. Again, if you want to sing those inside outside, they go on as I'm singing. So catch them surfing at inside outside USA. You can sing that over the top whilst I sing the chorus if you want to. All right, there we go. Let's move that up there. Make that a little bit bigger. Sorry guys, just trying to get my sheet to stay put. There we go. Okay, here we go. So get ready to come in on the O of Ocean. Here we go. If everybody had an ocean across the USA, everybody be surfing like California. See them wearing their baggies, Huarache sandals too, bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. Catch them surfing at Delmar, Ventura County line, Santa Cruz and Trestles, Australia's Narrabeen, all over Manhattan and down Tahiti Way. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Well, I'll be planning a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our surfboards, we can't wait for June. Well, I'll be gone for the summer, we're on safari to stay. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Hagatees and Swamis, Pacific Palisades, Final Free and Sunset, Redondo Beach, LA, all over La Jolla and Aguayini Bay. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Take a solo. Everybody's out golfing, California, yeah. Da 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 da. All over Manhattan and NYU, babe. It's the last bit. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing US. Let's do a C7. Yeah, fantastic. Well done, everyone. That was fun. Oh my gosh, I'm really sweating now. I threw in an extra verse there by accident as well, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was just so you get your money's worth. That's all it was. But I hope you enjoyed it. It's just that fun, isn't it, that song? And as I say, it's just basically, it's Chuck Berry's Sweet Little 16 with new lyrics over the top. But, you know, what a cool thing for Brian to do. It's just so much fun, isn't it? And, yeah, brilliant kind of classic Beach Boys. Leslie's saying, La Yola is pronounced La Jolla. Ah, La Jolla. I guess it comes from Spanish, I'm guessing, is it, Leslie? Like Los Angeles, City of Angels. So, yeah, there we go. Every day is a school day, as they say. Barbara, that's a really interesting one. What Barbara was just asking, what's the name of that thing when you're dropping your pinky on the extra note? I don't know if it has an actual musical term in terms of what you would call it. You could kind of call it almost like a blues shuffle, but sometimes blues shuffle is a bit more kind of that. But it could be thought of as a kind of shuffle. The other way to think about it is just in terms of music. It's adding a sus chord. So you know how what's his name? Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. He used to love these sus chords when he did bluesy stuff like at the start of Start Me Up. And it's, yeah, they're technically sus4s. So it's a G7 sus4. The reason it's called a sus4 is we're taking this note here. This is the B note, the third note in the key of G. And we're swapping it for the fourth note in the key of G, which is C. So that's a G7 sus4. And when we do this, it's at C sus4. Because we're taking the third note in the key of key of C, sorry. And we're turning that into the fourth, which is F. But I'm sure there probably is a technical term for it, to be honest, Barbara. And someone, if anyone wants to chip in, I won't be offended. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the technical name for that is. But it sounds cool, right? That's the main thing. That's what I always think. So there we go. Really, really simple pop song there. Now, what I wanted to show, the reason I chose this next song is that I think it shows how Brian Wilson was such a genius songwriter right from the off. His mum was massively into music. His dad, Murray, was massively into music. And in fact, was actually the Beach Boys manager for a short term until they fell out with him. He had a really, I think part of Brian's breakdown was the fact that his dad was kind of like mentally and I think physically abusive to Brian when he was a kid. In fact, you know how Brian, you know when he used to talk, he would talk out of the side of his mouth. If you ever see him singing, he always sings like this. And it's all down to the fact that he couldn't hear in one ear. That's the reason why he kept producing in mono even when other bands went to stereo when it was invented, because he couldn't hear in stereo because he only had one correct ear. And apparently Murray Wilson at one point had just hit him really hard on the side of his head and it caused deafness in one ear, which is really sad. Where was I going with this? Yeah, but they were a really musical family, and there's these lovely stories that the Beach Boys, the main three, I guess, brothers. You've got Brian Wilson, who is the oldest, Then you've got Carl Wilson, the middle child, and then Dennis Wilson. So Brian Wilson wrote songs, that played bass in the early days, and then was quit touring, and he was replaced by, there was David Marks playing for a while, and also Glenn Campbell stood in for him for a while. And then Dennis played drums because they couldn't find anything for him to do on the first record, so he just banged some drums basically. In fact, I think on the first record he might be banging an overturned waste paper basket or something like that. So those are the three main, and they used to practice singing harmonies in their mum and dad's car, which I think is really, really sweet. Brian Wilson was really obsessed with a harmony band from the time called the Four Freshmen. But he was also really into classical music. Brian Wilson talks a lot about Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue really affecting him when he was a young guy. The reason I'm telling you all this is I think this next one's really fascinating because this one is from 1964, only a year after he wrote Surfing USA. And Brian was 21 at this point, and he wrote this gorgeous, gorgeous song, The Warmth of the Sun. He wrote it after the shooting of JFK, the assassination of JFK, and the emotion of that kind of really goes into this song. Co-wrote the lyrics with Mike Love, but Brian wrote all the music. In fact, Brian Wilson worked with lyricists for most of his career. So in the early days, he used a guy called Gary Usher, who was one of his friends. Also Mike Love, who was his cousin and the bass singer in the Beach Boys. Then later on in the Pet Sounds era, he used Tony Asher, who wrote those beautiful songs on Pet Sounds with him, like God Only Knows. Then his kind of strange period with Van Dyke Parks in the Smile period. All sorts of songwriters and lyricists that he's worked with, but big into the music. Now this one's really, really gorgeous. Thanks, Laura. You say tomato, I say tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. Thanks, girl. No worries, no worries. You can always catch up later. So this one's got some beautiful... What I'm getting at is this one's a really beautiful, sophisticated song. It's absolutely gorgeous. But again, it's quite easy to play. I'll talk you through the chords as we go. It's relatively straightforward. We're in the key of C again, which is really, really nice. It keeps things simple. But we have, again, some unexpected chords. This is what Brian is really, really clever at. So it starts off just kind of, as you would expect, with a 1 chord, setting us off on a journey. Then we've got the 6 chord. That's a really common chord to go to next. The most common chords after the 1 chord are the 6 chord or the 4 chord, F. And look at that, the A minor is only 1 note different from the 4 chord anyway. So we've got C to A minor. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. We've got an E flat next. And you wouldn't think that would work because normally in the key of C, we'd have C, D minor, E minor. So that 3 chord to use a major flat chord, that's really unusual. The reason it works, and you can see this quite clearly on the ukulele, it's really cool on the uke. This is your E flat. You put your first finger here on the first fret of the A string, and then just reach up with 2 fingers. I like to use my middle 2. You can use your last 2 if you find it a bit more comfortable. And just give that a strum down. That's your E flat. Try and keep this wrist as straight as possible. Try not to bend up like this. Keep it as straight as possible. Notice these are all at an angle. They're not straight like that. They're coming at an angle there, which allows me just to use my fingertips. Well, the genius of why this chord works is because the next chord is C minor and it's only 1 note different, which itself is an unusual choice. It's the 1 chord, but being played as a minor, a bit like he did in that early song. And then we go to 2 chords that are really straightforward. It's those 2 5-1s again. D minor being 2, G7 being 5. And then to really ratchet up the tension there, after that G7, he plays a G7 augmented. This is really common on doo-wop records and things like that. So you probably heard this in the Four Freshmen. So you take this G7 and you add this note up here. It's often called a G7 sharp 5 or a G7 augmented. It just takes the 5th note in the chord, which is D, and it sharpens it, so it turns it into a G sharp. So you can either move that one forward, which a lot of people find difficult, or just add your little finger. And it really adds tension. Hear that? It's really lovely. Which is really gorgeous. Now, the other thing to note is that this song is in 6/8 timing. So again, that's a really common thing for doo-wop songs, kind of late 50s songs. A lot of them are in 6/8 timing. Really beautiful time signature. So that means we've got to think of 6 beats in every measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So there's a couple of ways you could do that. You could just strum down straight 8s 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is what one of the original guitars does, if you're interested. Like that. Here comes that lovely augmented. Or if you want to make it a little bit more fancy, what you can do is add some kind of extra up strums in. And the way I like to think about that, rather than worrying about ups and downs, is think of this rhythm. Walk, running, running. Walk, running, running. If you are into your downs and ups, that's down, down, up, down, up. Down, down, up, down, up. Now do that twice. Walk, running, running. Walk, running, running. On every measure. How lovely is that? Walk, running, running. 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 I love the flow of this. It kind of has that real lilting quality, which is really, really beautiful. So that will make one of the verses, it would sound like this. What good is the dawn that grows into day? Shall I try Brian Wilson falsetto? This might be quite painful. The sun sets at night, or living this way. Now the second time when we hit this chord, we turn it into an E7. All we need to do is just lift that finger up. So G7 would be like that, right? To turn it into an E7, just lift that one up. We get this lovely E7. Now what Brian's doing there is absolutely brilliant, yet simple. Basically, the next section is in the key of A, we can think of it as. I've still named the Nashville numbers as if we're in the key of C to keep it consistent. But basically, when we go to the chorus, he modulates into the key of A. And the way musicians tend to do that is they play a chord that's 5 above the target chord. If we count up from A, B, C sharp, D, E. And E is 5 above A. So by turning that G7 at the end, we get this beautiful transition into the key of A major. It's really gorgeous. And rather than playing just a normal A major, which would look like this, Brian plays an A major 7. Just means we're adding this G sharp note, which is the 7th note in the key of A. So this would be A. This is A major 7. But I prefer to play it this way round, particularly because we're coming from this E7. Just pull it back like that. A minor 7 we know now as fingers off, right? D7. And again on the next bit we're doing the same thing a whole step down. So instead of A major 7 with G major 7, just bar the bottom 3 strings like that. We go to G7 and then we add that augmented, which takes us back into the key of C because G7 is 5 above C, as we talked about earlier. So really simple transitions, but they sound so sophisticated. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're into your nerdy stuff, this one, now this is embarrassing, right? Because I struggled to get a copy of Shutdown Volume 2 for years. It was the reason it's called Shutdown Volume 2, even though there's no Shutdown Volume 1, is it was thought of as a sequel to kind of what's it, Little Juice Coupe and all those car songs. Now, embarrassingly, the only version of this I ever found in a physical shop was in a charity shop in London. I think it might have been Carnaby Street. And it was owned by someone called Jay Slater. There we go, in Edgbaston. That's Birmingham, isn't it, I think? But I reckon their little brother or sister defaced this, because this is really embarrassing. I need to get myself another copy, because look. Someone turned Brian into Hitler, and Carl, and Dennis. Yeah, I think, did Alan Jardine get away with it? Look, he's just got the armbands. But there we go. There's Brian, Mike, Dennis, the youngest, and Carl, the middle one. Yeah, so they've got Beatles haircuts and Hitler moustaches, so that's really annoying. And yeah, I couldn't find another copy anywhere, so I'm just going to have to keep searching, and eventually I'll get one without Hitler moustaches on them. But yeah. Karen's just saying on that G7 Augmented, G7 Plus, if you find it more comfortable, you can just push that finger forward, all right? Or you can... Lovely, which is nice, right? Barbara's recently acquired a Koaloa almond wood tenor. Brian Wilson's songs sound beautiful. I bet they do, Barbara. I didn't even know Koaloa did an almond wood one. I've heard some of their mango, and I think they did a monkey pod one, or Kamaka did, didn't they? I bet that sounds gorgeous. Really like to hear that. You'll have to do us a video, Barbara, if you haven't already. That'd be fantastic. Okay, now this one, if you want to solo on, you can do a bit of C major pentatonic, that first scale we did. But I'm not going to get into that because this one doesn't technically have room for a solo. There's no instrumental. We just go verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And just really appreciate the beauty of this as we sing it. It's just so gorgeous. So we're going to do verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And after the final chorus, we're going to do another verse where I'm just going to wail over the top. Slightly worse than the Beach Boys do it, but just so you can hear how it sounds on the record, kinda. So just keep going one after another. All you've got to remember is when we go to the chorus to play E7 rather than that G augmented. So first verse, we play G7 augmented, and we play it again. Second time, we jump to the chorus after that E7. You'll get the hang of it. You'll get the hang of it. All right, let's give it a try. So yeah, totally. We definitely need a demo. I can't wait to hear that. Oh my word, that sounds really nice. Cool. I love Koaloas. Such sweet sounding ukuleles. Just brilliant. All right, so let's give it a go then, guys. So beautiful, beautiful warmth of the sun. Harness that lovely, beautiful melancholy. Let's do the verse instrumentally just to get us going. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, C. A minor. E flat. C minor. Just add that little finger down. D minor. G7, and then add that finger. What good is the dawn that grows into day? The sun sets at night. the way that I feel. One last chorus. My love's like the warmth of the sun. It won't ever die. Let's do one more chorus. The warmth of the sun, it won't ever die. There we go. I'll get carried away now. I just love that song. I could just kind of play it with my eyes closed and just, oh, it's just so beautiful. I tell you what, I'm feeling the warmth of the sun tonight. That is for sure. I'm absolutely melting here. But yeah, I'm kind of going to see that as that's Brian kind of shining down on us, I think, from up above. So I mean, if we're singing Brian songs, there's got to be a blue skies and sunshine. It's like the rules, isn't it? Right? So yeah, so let's have a think. If you're interested in my kind of love of the Beach Boys, I'm not going to bore you with it all tonight, but I wrote a little kind of mini essay in the back. So if you're kind of interested, you might not be, and that's totally fine. I've done a little bit of a tribute to Brian that I wrote. I think I wrote this the day after he'd passed away. So I just absolutely love his music. It's just really beautiful. Listen to something like Till I Die on Surf's Up, and it's just like no one else ever wrote music like that, in my opinion. Just the changes, and then you've got the harmonies on top. It's just like beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the next one, thanks Lisa. The next one is really lovely. So this next one, the reason I chose this is that this was the last song on Pet Sounds, which is generally regarded as the best Beach Boys album of all time. In fact, but in many people's estimations, it's the best album of all time. Really amazing music on here. So bear in mind, basically, he heard the American version of the Beatles' Rubber Soul, which is actually another one of my favourite albums. I love Rubber Soul. And Brian was blown away how all the songs kind of tied together like one brilliant piece of art, like a brilliant album. And if you think about the early 60s, including early Beatles stuff, a lot of albums were made up of singles, more often than not 4 or 5 singles on an LP, and then a load of filler, which could have just been songs that weren't quite so good. It could have been cover versions, you know, just kind of filling it. It was all about selling those 7 inches, those singles. And then Brian heard the American version of Rubber Soul. The reason I say the American version is because the American version had a slightly different track listing to the UK version. It had a couple of songs off Help, the album before it in the UK. So it had I've Just Seen a Face, and I think there's another couple of songs off Help that ended up on their version of Rubber Soul. And it gives it more of a kind of a folk feel to it, which is really nice. It took a couple of the kind kind of R&B ones off and made it more folky. And it blew Brian away. He was just like, I want to make something like this. And that kind of gave him the idea of the concept album. So he got together with Tony Asher, the lyricist, who was like a kind of PR guy. But Brian met him at a party in Laurel Canyon, and they started to work on Pet Sounds. This is when Brian went a little bit interesting. He had a tent made in his front room. He had a swimming pool in the back, and he'd hold business meetings in the swimming pool because he was a bit paranoid that people were bugging his house. He also famously put his grand piano in a sandbox so he could put his feet in it and feel like he was at the ocean. And he got together with Tony Asher and they started recording this. By the way, the sandbox didn't work out too well because apparently his dogs pooed in it, so it probably wasn't very nice. They saw it as like one big litter tray to a cat maybe. And in fact, if you listen really carefully to this next song, right at the end you'll hear the sound of a railway, which is the railway near where Brian used to live. And you'll hear two dogs howling, and that was his two dogs, Banana and Louie. That's who I named one of my bands after. I love it. Anyway, so he released this album called Pet Sounds, and it just has so many textures. He used the Wrecking Crew, who were this amazing band that lots of bands were using in the 60s. Whilst the Beach Boys were off touring, he got the Wrecking Crew together and he recorded all these songs, even without the Beach Boys really knowing what was going on. And they have these beautiful jazz chords in them. They have these nice textures. They have harmonizations between instruments that just weren't heard of in modern music. It just kind of blew everything out the water basically, and just an absolutely beautiful album. An interesting aside, if you're into your ukulele, one of the bass players on it, one of them was Carol King, who played a plectrum bass, so like an electric bass with a plastic plectrum to give it a particular sound. But the other bassist on double bass was a guy called Lyle Ritz, who went on to play ukulele on one of the Beach Boys' later songs called Diamond Head, which was named after the volcano on Oahu. Well, Lyle Ritz went on to record one of the earliest ukulele albums in terms of like a proper LP full of quality material. So this album of jazz music. So Lyle Ritz is both a ukulele hero and is my hero because he played on Pet Sounds. So that's pretty cool, right? Anyway, this last song, the reason I chose this is it's the last song on the album. It's called Caroline No. And the reason I chose it is this was actually released as a Brian Wilson single, even though it's the last song on Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys album, because it was just Brian singing on it and none of the Beach Boys played on it at all. Carl Wilson does a bit of guitar on Pet Sounds, but none of the other Beach Boys played on this one. It was actually released under his name, so it could technically be thought of as his first solo single, even though he was kind of in and out the band for another kind of 20 years. But yeah, kind of just interesting. If you get to listen to the box set of Pet Sounds, the original's really nice because it was recorded in a lower register and then they sped the tape up to just give it a brighter sound, which is interesting. And the original's even more mellow. It was written after a girl called Carol Mountain, who Brian once dated. And originally it was called Carol I Know. Carol, the girl's name, and then I Know. And when Brian was singing it, I think Tony Asher misheard it and wrote it down as Caroline No. So that's kind of how it became Caroline No. It has some really beautiful, sophisticated jazz chords in it. I mean, you look at the name of some of these and you feel, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to play this. It's in the key of D. But actually, it's not that hard at all. Particularly the verses. The verses are in the key of D, and they go from the 2 chord played as a 6, an E6, okay? And we're going to play that just by barring the 4th fret of the all 4 strings, basically. And you can strengthen that by using 2 fingers if you want. Notice that I got my uke held at 45-degree angle, like I'm always telling you guys to. Part of the reason for that is doing bar chords is quite difficult like this. But when you have your uke at an angle, it sits beautifully in there against the fret. Okay. Now the reason that's an E6 is we've taken a C6 chord open. Earlier we were doing that as an A minor 7. If you take it up 1, C sharp 6, D6, D sharp 6, E6. Okay. And we literally just go from the 2 chord to the 1 chord. So D played as a 6. Okay, I don't know, did I write down how we should? No, I don't think I wrote down a rhythm for this. Let's just do straight A's. So we go from E6 to D6 again and go, where did your long hair go? Where is the girl I used to know? How did... Now the next bit's really beautiful. We've got E minor 7, looks like this. Lose that, A7, happy. And then we go to a D chord, this time played as a D major 7. Okay, isn't that a gorgeous sounding chord? It's a D, but with the 7th note in the key of D, which is C sharp added. That's why it looks like this. You can think of it like a D7 with this one moved up. If you find it more comfortable, experiment with fingers, whatever feels most comfortable. And that's a classic 2-5-1. 2, 5, 1. Now the great American songwriters, think Gershwin and Cole Porter and people like that, they were using these sophisticated jazz chords. People in pop music weren't. And he was even doing things like having different instruments playing different keys but still working, and it's just amazing. This is why Brian's a genius, right? I could never write a song like this. It's just absolutely wonderful. So let's go over that again. So E6, 4th fret to D6, and we do that 3 times. Then E minor 7, 2 fingers like this, A7, D major 7. So that's the verses, okay? We tend to play that round twice for each one, okay? And that's most of the song. If you have a look here, notice we've got verse, verse, then we've got a bridge, and then verse, and then the instrumental is just another verse. So it's mostly just that over and over again. But then we've got this beautiful bridge. Again, it's like heartbreaking and just so gorgeous. We change key from D to A. Okay, so we finish on this D major 7, and then we do a 2-5-1 in the key of A. So it starts with this B minor 7, E7 for 2 beats, and then we've got that lovely A major 7 again. Okay, that's a 2-5-1 in the key of A. And Brian does it in an unusual way. The reason it works is that that D major 7 to B minor 7 are only 1 note different. Okay, like that. And then we take it back to this one. Then we've got a 2-5-1 in the key of A's relative minor, which is F sharp minor. Don't sweat the fear on this too much because it'll give you a headache. But that looks like this. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it. We've got a G sharp half diminished, otherwise known as a G sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's hard enough to say it, right? But you can either use a waterful of fingers like this. So 3 fingers on the bottom 3 strings of the 2nd fret, and then this finger up here on the G string, 1st fret. Or I quite often do it like this. I bow with my 3rd finger, the bottom 3, and then I put my 1st finger like that. Okay, so it's just that bar and this finger up here. It doesn't need to push down all the strings, it just needs to hit this one. Okay, however you do it and feels most comfortable to you. Then we go to this C sharp 7 flat 5, a really common jazz chord again, just like this. And I kind of think about that as like a G7 with this note added. You can also think about it like a G major shape taken up and over, and then this little finger added. It's like we use for diminished 7th, right? And then F sharp minor, where we just put these 3 fingers down like a G7 moved up towards your nose. And then finally that B minor 7 flat 5, that's a B half diminished. Think of it like a D minor chord like this. And then we're just going to put a little finger down here on this beautiful B note. Okay, So D minor, little finger down on the 2nd fret. Okay, it's so beautiful, this chorus. It'll sound like this: B minor 7, E7, A major 7. And then we're back to our... If you really struggle with this one, you could always just leave that bridge out and just sing along, or just have a little noodle on that bit. Let's give it a go, okay, guys? Because this is in 2 keys, this is going to be way too complex to solo on. So we'll just keep this really simple, and we'll just sing it like it is on the record. There's no instrumental on the record, apart from the outro, which is just the chords. All right, so we're playing just like it is on the record, which is really nice. The record looks like this. There we go. There's Pet Sounds. This is a stereo version. It sounds really nice in stereo, because you can hear like the French horn coming through on God Only Knows and stuff. It's got like a really nice sound to it, which is really cool. In fact, my band, if you're interested, when I was in my first band, this will give you a blast from the past. Have a look at this. It's all blurry because this is a photo from like 40 years ago. Not 40 years ago, I'm not that old. 25 years ago, I think, probably. And that was my first band. So we released a record called our own version of Pet Sounds, and we went to a farm, and we we kind of did our version. So that's the Beach Boys, and there's my band. I think we did pretty well, didn't we, recreating that? Really, I think. So yeah, there we go. The only trouble is, I think I got to be Mike Love, which is my least favourite Beach Boy, but ho hum. Cool. Yeah, Fran's saying she remembers that G sharp half diminished chord from God Only Knows, but being called an A flat half diminished. And of course, if you think about it, those are, we call those enharmonic notes or chords. An A flat is the same as a G sharp, right? We just call it one or the other because of the key we're in, basically, which is really sweet. Oh, Karen, get better soon. Karen's seeing an aura. She's not feeling too well with a migraine, so yeah, I hope you feel better soon. Okay, let's play out with a beautiful version of Caroline Now. I'll stick around for a little bit at the end, but oh, thanks, Fran. I'll stick around for a bit at the end, but do, if you've got any questions, do ping them over my way. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you for all your support, as always, and for tuning in tonight. Remember, these are all available for a replay as well. Don't worry if you don't see them on YouTube. They're still available. You just need to go to the website. There's an archive of them there. Just go to mattsteadukulele.com, click live lessons, and then Canacapila archive. They're all free. You don't have to pay anything, even going via the website. All right. It just help with the YouTube algorithm taking the live ones off after I've done them. Okay. And if you're able to hit the like button, I really appreciate it. If anyone wants to leave a virtual tip, you're not obligated by any way. You guys mostly support me by signing up as members at the site, which is a really brilliant and kind thing to do anyway. But just in case anyone's interested, links in the description and in the comments as well. Thanks for a wonderful night and really helping me celebrate the music of Brian. It's really meant a lot to me today, so thank you so much, guys. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, David. Thank you. Okay, all right, Caroline Now to finish off then. Let's go. Here we go. Let's just do a verse intro to get us going. again. Things that made me love you so much then. Could we ever bring them back once they have gone? Oh, Caroline, thanks everyone. I hope you really enjoyed that. Thanks for celebrating the life of Brian Wilson with me. It's been loads and loads of fun. You probably can't read this. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I'm just going to keep this on screen just in case anyone wanted to have a look at it, which is my tribute. I wonder if I can make that a bit bigger and put it over there if anyone's interested. So if anyone's really interested in the Beach Boys and maybe you don't know where to start, I would recommend, I mean, Pet Sounds is obviously their kind of most renowned album. There are some brilliant later ones. There's the crazy brilliance of Smile, which is absolutely fantastic. That's the album that was never properly released, but Capitol eventually released a demo version, which is terrific. And when Brian got together in the noughties, he kind of finished it off and released it on his own as a solo thing, which was really lovely. I got to see him perform it at the Royal Albert Hall. Not the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Festival Hall. And I went 2 years earlier and I saw him perform oh gosh, sorry, I'm sweating like a pig. Got to see him perform Pet Sounds live, which was fantastic. That was 2004, 2002, I think. We actually didn't have tickets. Me and Rob, we hitchhiked to London and we got 2 tickets off a ticket tout for 50 quid. We got in and we sat next to a lovely German couple and sang songs all night out loud. But yeah, Pet Sounds is probably the best place to start. But then check out Sunflower. That's one of my favourite albums. That's one they recorded on Warner Brothers later on. And it's got a really nice beautiful vibe to it, which is lovely. So I should probably get those out of the way in case anyone's reading it. So check that out as well. Sunflower's absolutely fantastic. Of the early stuff, my absolute favourite is Beach Boys Today. The second half of Beach Boys Today kind of is almost like the first part of Pet Sounds. It has some hints of what's to come. Some really gorgeous one. There's a song called Kiss Me Baby on it, which has just got the most beautiful string part and beautiful harmonies, which is really nice. Thank you. Thanks, Fran. Yeah, thank you. It meant a lot to me. I really do love Brian's music and it's such a joy to play. At one point, this was so many years ago when I first started to play ukulele, at one point I thought I might record like a ukulele version of Pet Sounds all the way through. That would have been fun, but I never got around to it. If you're interested, there are a few books that I would recommend. There's Peter Ames Carlin's Catch a Wave, Rise and Fall and Redemption of the Beach Boys, which is really good. If you want something super dark that goes into all the dark history of the band, it starts with the really kind of depressing fall to alcoholism of Dennis Wilson and his sad death when he jumped off his boat, the melody, and never came back up. But it's really gritty but amazingly interesting, this one. This is Stephen Gaines' Heroes and Villains. And then the other one which I love is this Charles Granata one, which was the making of Pet Sounds. So if you're into the technical side of the writing, if you're really into the music of Pet Sounds, this is absolutely beautiful. It's a gorgeously presented book as well, even in softback. So check that out. That's Charles L. Granata. If anyone's interested, hit me up on Facebook and I'll send you a reading list. And if anyone's really interested, hit me up and I'll send you a recommended listening list as well. I honestly, I'm not kidding. I listen to the Beach Boys every day. I just think the music is just absolutely beautiful. So let me know. Yeah, don't worry, Fulton. Have a look up. I think somebody earlier mentioned there's a version of Earth, Wind and Fire. Where is it? I'll see if I can find Karen's comment earlier. Where is it? Can't find it now. There are quite a few versions on the internet with the chords if you want to find it. Ultimate Guitar, I think, have a free version as well where you can look it up. Oh, there we go. Ukulele Cheats. If you look up Ukulele Cheats, he has a YouTube tutorial of it. So I'll try and get round to making one as well because it is a really cool song. All right. So yeah, get online and see if you can find it. All right then, folks. Well, I'm going to love you and leave you. Just to let you know that next Canacapilla will be in 3 weeks' time, because next Monday it's my daughter. She's singing at a soiree at her school on a Monday night, and I really don't want to miss it. So she's been practicing really hard, and it's sounding really beautiful. So she'll be singing at that. She stayed up late watching Olivia Rodrigo at Glastonbury for some inspiration last night. We let her stay up. It's a great set. Did any of you see any Glastonbury? I thought there's some cool highlights this year. Really loved Olivia Rodrigo. It's great to see Pulp get back together as well. That was absolutely fantastic. My favourite band Weezer even played, so that was really, really magical as well. So next Canacapilla is going to be in 3 weeks' time because of that, and we're actually going to do a Beatles special. So we've done the Beach Boys, so now we're going to do the Beatles, and we're going to play some of my favourite songs off Rubber Soul Revolver and all sorts. So that's going to be loads and loads of fun. And then don't forget as well, the week after next, I'm jazzing up the blues for a live workshop on the Wednesday at 3:30. So come and join in with that. It's going to be a really interesting but simple workshop. I think you're going to absolutely love that one, which would be great. Yeah, Laura, wasn't she great? I loved it. I was saying to Sharon, like, I kind of loved that the pacing of it, because it had some really beautiful kind of relaxed piano ones, and then there was like bangers, you know, she's really going for it and stuff. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. She is a real highlight for me. So yeah, absolutely. Next weekend, before we come back and Sandy's got a soiree, I'm taking her to see Sabrina Carpenter in London. So she's getting her value out of me at the moment, music wise, I tell you, but it's great. I used to go to those as well. So yeah. D minor chord and C minor. I'll show you quick. It doesn't matter. That's all cool. So D minor is like this one here. So think of it like an F chord, but one added. And C minor, just the bottom 3 of the 3rd fret, like that. Okay. So D minor and C minor. All right. If you go onto my app, there's a chord finder and you can look up any chord whatsoever. So if you go to mattsteadukulele.com and click on more, you'll find a whole chord finder there, and you can look up every single one. So in a fortnight's time, because of next week me being off, we've got our Melodic Mondays, which is really cool. We're going to look at a lovely chord melody version of I'll Fly Away, which I'm really looking forward to. Has this real cool kind of we're going to make one ukulele sound like 2, which is going to be really, really exciting. So I'll show you how to do that. That's going to be 2 weeks' time. As I say, I've now got the calendar on the homepage. So if you want to keep on top of everything and find out when we've got Canacapillas and Melodic Mondays, just go to mattsteadukulele.com, scroll down, halfway down the page, there's a list of absolutely everything that's happening. So you can find out then. Right, I'm going to go and have my tea and listen to some Beach Boys records in the late evening sunshine. Thanks for joining me, guys. Much love and mercy, and I will see you soon.